Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Forging Worlds panel here at Houston Outpost. How's everyone enjoying their Outpost so far? Yeah? All right. We're going to be taking a look at Forge, how it started, where it is today, how the Forge community has impacted Halo, and how Halo has impacted Forge. So first off, I am Duststorm. I am the owner and host of a podcast called Podtacular. We cover a myriad of different Halo topics, whether it comes to Forge, anything at Outpost, any new stuff, we cover it all. And then we'll just go on down the road.
I'm Duquesne23. I am a Forger, YouTuber, mixer streamer, and race lover. So
I am Sir Ironwolf. I currently am the admin for ForgeHub, and I also work at 343 Industries as a Forge tester.
Hi, I'm Max Extra. Oh, wait. Oh, okay.
Yep.
I'm Max Extra. I am also an admin at ForgeHub, and yeah.
Hi, I'm Kantalope. I make confusing maps, and I'm a moderator at a new forum, Next Level Design.
I'm Darth Quackers, and I work on crazy-looking aesthetic or crazy, just overall crazy maps. And I also am starring mixer.
All right, so by a quick raise of hands, who here has done anything in Forge before? Like gone and actually tried to make something? All right, so most people.
Right.
We're in amongst good people here.
yeah.
So we won't bore you with some of the minor details then, but Forge is basically an in-game tool that lets players create their own content that can be used to share with other players, used in matchmaking playlists, refreshes, and all this kind of other community content. A lot of the mechanics behind Forge is just allowing you to place objects, alter gameplay, make map movement flow a little bit different on the map, and then allows players to create other kind of crazy multiplayer experiences, as some people have mentioned that they do up here. So yeah, we're going to take a quick look at the history of Forge. Just on the panel, who here started with Halo 3 Forge?
I did.
So most everybody. Halo 4. Okay, and then Kantalope, where'd you start?
Reach.
Reach. All right.
Don't forget it exists.
Very good.
Yeah, technically Reach 2, yeah.
So with Halo 3 Forge being the first time that we've seen Forge in Halo, it was one of the first times we actually got to do a proper in-game map editing type of functionality. Through Halo Custom Edition or Halo 2 Vista, for those of you who know what that is, there are some more developer level tools where you can go in and do map modifications and texture editing. But this was the first time we actually had an in-game console map editor to use within Halo.
Pretty revolutionary at the time, too.
Yeah. Was Halo the first one to actually have this on the console?
It might have been.
When did Far Cry?
Yeah, Far
Cry had a
Tony Hawk.
I think Halo was really the one that made it huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also helped popularize some of the game modes that are now popular within Halo, such as Griffball and Infection variants. So that got a lot of help and start from the Forge community. We also got our first Forge template in Foundry, and that later went on to get expanded in Sandbox, which were both DLC maps for Halo 3. And it also added some of the fun and quirky effects and other things that you could add to a map.
Yeah.
Looking at Darth down there.
Yeah, I just remember the old-timey effect so much, and it hurt my eyes every time.
That was a
I went
fun
through
one.
it.
Old-timey and Juicy were way overused.
Yes, those
Way
are fun.
overused.
Way
It was
overused.
awesome.
Yeah.
So with the first three here kind of doing getting their start with Halo 3 Forge, what was kind of the most memorable part of Halo 3 Forge for you guys?
Having to ghost merge, everything to be able to have objects actually merge together. You had to go through some convoluted way of doing it because they didn't have a phase ability in Halo 3, so you kind of had to glitch your way around doing it. But that was to me most memorable thing.
I just think back to the times like when I first got my hands on it, and me and my friends just had fun just killing each other with like moving around the objects and hitting each other with stuff.
Yeah.
Well, there was an
As simple as that
achievement
is.
too for splattering someone while in Forge.
Yep. Yeah,
That
I
came
think
later
you
on.
Yeah, you spawned in a tank and dropped it on someone. You got an achievement for it.
The best achievements.
The fun, quirky ones. They need to add more of those.
Yeah.
So moving on to Halo Reach, we got a lot of new pieces to work with, primarily some prefabs, some natural terrain pieces like rocks. I don't think we got trees yet,
No.
No, not yet.
but
Nope.
a lot of expansion on just the Forge palette that we were able to use and build with, which made for a lot more dynamic and unique maps. Unfortunately, Reach suffered from a very gray color scale.
Yeah.
Every object had like the same texture.
Although I think, didn't we get trees on Timberland?
Yep.
Though on the DLC map,
But it was
Timberland,
only in that map. So
they gave you trees. But that was, everyone forged on Forge World. So,
Yeah. We had Forge World introduced, which was kind of what Duquesne alluded to. And when they came out, there were 5 maps made on Forge World built into the game. And it was meant to be a huge playground for people to kind of make whatever map they wanted to make. And it was Bungie's first attempt at trying to make a quote-unquote truly Forge map. They would go on later to make some better alternatives to that. But within Reach, we also had some additional forging techniques. So snapping, precision editing, physics objects, so you could actually phase those pesky objects to think.
yes, it's made everything so much easier.
And you also had the color highlighting, so you could color vehicles and other base pieces certain colors to indicate what team base you're on and help a little bit more with location recognition and competitive play.
I totally forgot that you could color the vehicles.
Yeah, vehicles. Some Halo 5, maybe Infinite needs to have here, so push for that.
Are you taking input now?
Yeah, taking input.
And then we also had some rudimentary pieces like the prefabs, terrain pieces. There's also golfing gear added to it as well, and that kind of went alongside with the insane game type that was also provided in Reach, which there were some crazy customs that came out of that one. I know a lot of forgers got their start because of the insane game type.
can we talk about chess?
Yeah.
What was
awesome.
What was the Zang? What did they call it? Let's start with a Z. When they made that like teaser announcement for the chess.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember.
I forget. It was
I
a
don't
long
remember.
time ago. All I remember is just chess
Yeah,
itself.
you can play chess.
You
in
could
Halo
play
through-
chess in Halo, which was
which is crazy.
pretty unique.
Yeah,
So it
Reach
was
also
part
had
of the-
Invasion, which people try to utilize all of Forge World for Invasion, doing the sequencing and like opening up new areas as you went. So you get some pretty interesting maps out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to break through those kill barriers too.
Yes.
A lot of different tricks.
Yeah.
Definitely.
In Halo 4, we got a lot more refinement in the different tools that we had within the Forge engine. So magnets, being able to duplicate objects, object locking, which came in really handy for if you want to set something and not accidentally delete it or move it. It helped a lot with the forging process.
Yeah.
You also had dynamic lighting effects on objects, so you didn't have just this stale, pale white light on certain objects, and you actually felt like you were in a somewhat more realistic environment than you had in Reach. There's also trait zones, which added a lot to the minigame aspect of Halo. Forge Island was the first truly forgeable map, as in it was just a big flat island that you just forged on. And we had some more objects to use, green screens, trees, expansions of the different prefabs that you had to use. And any stories for Halo 4 Forge on the panel?
I was just saying, it was nice. I know Halo 4, it didn't make that much of a leap. Like Halo 3 to Halo Reach, it was a massive leap. Halo 4 it just added some nice little things in there, like ability to put down trees, which was something that was very nice to be able to have.
Trees.
It made it easier for everyone to like navigate throughout Forge if they were brand new to Forge because of all the magnets and everything. It just made it easier for casuals to be able to make a map.
Yeah, there's a lot more rocks that you could place down in Halo 4 than what it was in Reach, because Reach I think only had like 5 or 6 different types of rocks.
Yeah.
Not a huge selection.
Yeah. Everyone just used the C stack
Mm-hmm.
the whole time.
A lot of military-based prefabs in Reach.
Yeah.
That military gray, good old military gray.
Yeah.
Trait zones are pretty huge for being able to get the anti-gravity stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people made some very interesting like puzzle maps and
Your Star Wars
obstacle
map.
courses to try to get through stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
those-
that one game mode called Power Rangers, which each team had different traits and different power-ups by default. So they're able to like, some had overshield, some had camo, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And each each iteration of Forge, you almost saw a different library of game types and mini games come out with Halo. So it's interesting to see how some of the Forge improvements have really benefited the mini game aspect all the way through and through, but some of them are maybe nitpicked at from a competitive standpoint.
Like go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also cool to see that just some of the game modes that have stuck around and stuff, even like over there on the playtesting stage, they played the sumo and stuff like that. Sumo that I remember coming out in Halo 3.
Yeah. And I know with Forge Island, like I know I created I don't think I was the first one to create it, but it's just one of the maps that I really enjoyed playing was like a hide and seek. Pretty much the person that was infected was invisible and everyone else was visible, but they had to just try to find a place to hide. And they could run around if they want to, but of course then the infected person would be able to know where they are, and they showed up on radar. So a lot of people, like on the smaller island, on Forge Island, there's 3 different islands, one large one, medium one, small one. On the smaller one, so basically people just tried to hide in bushes or underneath everything, just hoping they didn't get killed by the infected person until the time runs out, so they win. So,
yeah, we would make it so the trees would be sideways, so it would look like bushes.
Yeah.
And it looked like a grassy plain, and the infected would crouch and everything while everyone was trying to hide, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I know for our game we played that one a lot. I believe it was called Slenderman.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Slenderman.
Yeah.
We that was a popular one for us when Halo 4 was in its prime.
Yep.
Yeah. Going into Halo 2 Anniversary, not a lot of things added to Forge, but a lot of groundwork of what would be included in Halo 5 really went into Halo 2 Anniversary. And I think a big one of that is scripting.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's
Scripting was big.
huge.
Yeah.
And we'll get to Halo 5 Forge, which you can see has a huge list of added things. So instead of going through them all, someone list your most notable or most useful thing in Halo 5 Forge that you've encountered.
Oh man.
That's a tough one. I think just the amount of objects and stuff that were introduced. Like there's just like probably close to over 1,000 different objects or something, I would have to say.
Over 1,700.
1,700? Oh, wow. Oh, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, there's
a lot.
Imagine having to test all those objects.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Well, and
Sure
then they kept adding stuff after the release of Halo 5. They kept adding different objects and everything. Pulling assets from campaign that we thought would be awesome in Forge, and they pulled them and put them into Forge for us. But for me, probably with Halo 5 is the amount of like terrain options, because we actually got placeable terrain, so we can make our own custom terrain. So you can make a map a lot more unique. And then things like materials on blocks, where you can have a wall just look like a concrete wall, a wooden floor. You can make it have a wooden material or like a stone, or things like that.
I think welding and the mini game mode is with like mini game settings and stuff like that. It was huge. With the improved scripting and everything, you can make stuff like extermination or the flapjack frenzy and all that sort of fun stuff.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know what Flapjack is, it's basically a spatula attached to a Banshee, and then everyone else is in mongooses. Yeah, the middle one on the right.
Yeah.
Everyone else is in mongooses with little discs tied to them, and they're supposed to be like pancakes. So the spatula is supposed to be flipping the pancakes out of the pan.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's pretty fun.
It gets crazy.
Yeah, with me, I would pretty much just say just scripting the terrain options. Like in Halo before, we didn't have, like on Forge Island, you'd have to either use this the sea stacks, the rocks, as like another way of doing hills or terrain. But in Halo 5, you actually got hills. You actually got like, dig unders, like so many different rocks, so many different terrain objects for each canvas. So that just works out.
Make a lot of custom terrain and everything. It was nice.
Kantalope, did you say what yours was?
Huh?
Your most
What was
notable-
your favorite Halo 5?
favorite Halo 5 Forge change?
Oh yeah, it would definitely be the fact that there's canvases with absolutely nothing on it. Where
That's true.
only what you place is there, so you can choose what the scenery is outside of the map. Don't have to have a random mountain in the background.
Yeah, and also like with that, the empty canvases, you could change skyboxes stuff, which was very useful. So at least not everything looked the same, that everyone has.
A lot more themes to work with too.
Yeah.
I'd say if I were more into Forge, the one big thing for Halo 5 I really appreciate is all the objects are not tied to maps anymore.
Yes.
All the objects you can forge into any map that you want.
Yeah.
So, as far as the basic design concepts for making a Forge map, you have your map layout and flow. There's a myriad of different Halo maps. Some are symmetrical, some are asymmetrical. So you decide what kind of a map that you want to make. Also might be based on the gameplay that you want to do. So if you want to do a capture the flag mode, or if you want to do a Slayer mode, infection, minigame, all that takes place or takes account to how you're going to design your map. And then you also want to take into account for how you want the map to look. Is there a certain emotion that you're trying to invoke with the environment? Is it just kind of a wacky play space? You're going to have colors everywhere. Or if you're doing a Forge art piece, what are you going to make and what pieces do you want to use to make it?
Yeah.
So Forge has had a lot of impact on the community, and I'm going to let Iron Wolf take over here and really go in depth on how Forge has really changed the face of Halo.
Yeah, so Forge brought a lot of stuff to the table. Custom game lobbies became more than just playing on a map and playing Slayer. It introduced like mini games and stuff like that. You have the matchmaking refresh that constantly goes on now in Halo 5. That's thanks to the community and the impact of Forge adding new maps, which definitely helps us out at the studio. Machinima and stuff. Many of you guys might know the most famous one, Red versus Blue. Stuff that has helped them even with some of their sets, and even other smaller indie machinima producers making maps and making their sets in Forge. Communities have risen up from the start of Forge, like ForgeHub, Griffball Hub, Halo Customs, Halo Tracks, iForge, and HSFN. All those are brought people together because of Forge, and it's just we wouldn't be for example, none of us would know each other if Forge never existed. Then also career opportunities. I'm a good example of that. I started out in Halo 3 Forge just as for fun, and then that was back in my high school days. And then as I grew up, I was like, I kind of want to see if there's an opportunity for me to make this into an actual career. And I just kind of worked at it, started joining some of the communities, and then became an admin of ForgeHub, and eventually got a job at 343 and stuff. So, stuff like this can really help get people into positions into the industry as well.
So you want to talk about the community engagement side as well?
Yeah. So at 343, we try to reach out to the community a lot and interact with them, especially when it comes to Forge and especially updating the playlist and stuff like that. We listen to feature feedback. So I know through Halo 5, some of the designers and stuff would go on to ForgeHub and some of the other sites and be like, hey, what are you guys thinking of the tools? And what can we do to make it better? What bugs have you found? What objects do you want? So I remember one of them, I always pushed for the nice elite statue and stuff. That was something I always pushed for. I was just I want more Covenant stuff. And then eventually they came out with Covenant stuff. So yeah. I was like, yes. This was before I was at the studio. And then, so sustaining multiplayer, which is basically the refreshes, getting together with the community, having them design maps, test it, and then put it out into the playlist for the whole world to play. And then another thing is community creations that have become official game modes. A good example of that is Action Sack. If any of you all play in the playlist Action Sack, that's all community made game modes and maps and stuff, and that's a really successful playlist. And another really successful playlist that's been based off of the community and the game mode that has been made is Husky Raid, which is huge right now.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah, it's like you'll see them play that out there on the playtest stage, or content stage, for the community playtest, and then just a Forge contest. Like 343 has worked with ForgeHub a lot. Or I think the most recent one was actually the Husky Raid contest and stuff. We put on a contest to figure out like to kind of have people make maps. Be like, okay, here's the maps that the community has made. Let's see what works for matchmaking, and what can we actually like put in there, and then make that playlist. So.
And I'll add a note to that too. Some of those contests actually have some prizes behind them too from ForgeHub.
Yep. Yeah. Like I know ForgeHub tries to give some people some money and stuff for winning the contest. So that way it's like not just a title and stuff. You actually get something. We also give like shirts. And I think for when 343 gets involved, sometimes there's some extra like swag and stuff that people throw in. Like I think for the Husky Raid contest, we actually printed out the winner's map on like a pretty nice big like glossy like photo paper, like really nice, and had the whole studio sign it, and then sent that to the winner, which is like a really cool, unique prize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is there a current contest going on right now?
Oh yeah, so we are currently doing a 2v2 contest. Well, ForgeHub is. This one is in association with 343 this time around, but still a contest that some people can win some money at. So
y'all should enter.
So Forge isn't without its ups and downs, and testing is a huge part of that. So there's a lot of different things that Forge has to go through in order to get to a final state where it is, especially with these contests. You have a lot of different forgers coming in, helping out with other forgers, helping do a lot of different play testing, all that stuff. But Duquesne, give us a little bit more of an in-depth dive in here.
I don't think that was me.
Wait, who is it supposed to be? Oh,
Actually,
I have the wrong comment here. Never mind.
Duquesne.
Like I don't know a lot about that.
Max, you take it away.
All right. So a lot of people, when they're making their maps, would like to get them into matchmaking. Not everyone does, but a lot of people do. And in order to try to facilitate that and help people get it there, while I am in no way a road to matchmaking, people like me have tried to create custom lobbies, testing lobbies, hosting them regularly to give people an area to come together and play each other's maps, try to give everyone creative feedback, constructive feedback, both positive and negative, to try to help everyone improve their skill at making maps. And that can be tough for some people. It's also like learning how to give feedback and learning how to take it super important. Like for instance, you've got to know who you're making your map for. If you're trying to get into matchmaking, then you might want to listen to some of the more competitive people who've played a lot of Halo. But if you're trying to just make your map for yourself, like you've got a certain vision and you don't care if it plays well or anything like that, you just want to make a certain map that plays a certain way, then choose who you listen to. Like that's just kind of the core of it at the start. Also consider who's helping you test. Like for instance, you say someone keeps falling off your map, go back and watch the theater for the map. That's one of the things I guess we didn't mention for Halo 3 is Halo 3 started the theater mode, which is huge, and it has become a really helpful part of playtesting. So you can go back and find this one person who's been complaining the entire time, flaming you, that you have no boundaries on your maps. And you can tell that he's just been jumping off it. He's not actually been playing well at all. So you can be like, maybe I don't need to listen to him. But if multiple people are saying it, maybe you want to look at putting something around your map to like help kind of bound it up a little bit.
That's sanitizing your input.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely validate things on the film. Watch people. If they, like, for instance, if they ever come to you and like, this sniper rifle is completely overpowered on this map, or like this area sucks, ask them why. And that's a really important thing, is trying to back up what you're saying. Like, if you can say like the sniper rifle has too many lines of sight and you can see all the spawn points, yeah, you might want to consider putting other things in there. But if they just got killed by the sniper rifle a lot, like maybe that's on them. But it's not always on them though. So you might want to, like, again, watching the video, hearing other people, asking questions like, why do you think this? That's really helpful for trying to nail down the feedback and try to improve your map. Starting the feedback, and like for instance, in my lobbies, I like to do large scale stuff first and then work towards the smaller stuff. For instance, like basic geometry of the map. If an area of the map's not being utilized, or if it's only being utilized and the rest of the map's not being utilized, then like for instance, everyone's spawning in a certain corner and that's everywhere the fight's happening. No one wants to leave that spot. We might want to look at moving a power weapon or putting some sort of need elsewhere for people to want to migrate and move from that location. Stuff like that would come first before looking at smaller things like lighting in certain areas or like individual spawn points, because reshifting the map geometry is going to affect all of those. So you want to start big and kind of work down small. Hold on, what do I got here? Sorry. The general step, I guess, as we've been going through it, I kind of cover these out of order, but is to like build the map, play test it, listen to the feedback, and repeat. That's really the only way to do it. If you're not doing it in that order, then I feel like you're going to have a hard time, because if you're trying to build your map and then listen to feedback, those people have never played your map, and it's just going to go completely off visuals. And while you can do that and you can get some stuff out of that, you can just like, some people can just like look at something and be like, this isn't going to work out. But playing on it gives you a certain like lived in feel that you can be like, okay, I experienced this. This actually isn't interacting the way I thought it would be. And it's really important to actually sit down and play the map like occasionally. Definitely at least once. And I guess the most important part is when receiving feedback, be open. Like if you're closed off, especially if you're like coming to these lobbies week after week and you're trying to make a competitive map and all these like well put feedback is going to you and you're just absolutely ignoring it and submitting the same thing over and over, people are gonna like lose interest in your map and not want to like help you out, because like we're giving you the feedback, we've got all these good reasons as to why, but you don't seem to agree with that, and you're not changing it to like kind of like, we thought we were helping you here, but you're not helping yourself. So it's important to be open to feedback, and not everyone's 100% right, including you. So it's nice to like try to at least absorb some of that feedback and try to apply it.
Yeah, and it's always definitely something to learn, because whenever you first start forging, you're making a map. It's your baby. You want everyone to like it. And of course, not everyone's going to like it. And people have feedback that's good, constructive feedback about something. So it's definitely something you have to learn about, taking that feedback and not taking it personally, and just, changing your map from there, what you see fit as, good feedback for your map and everything. So there's been times where I have reviewed people's maps and stuff online, and they took it really bad. Like they started on a big old rant, and I was like, okay. So yeah, just take it and, change your map if you want to. If you don't want to, then okay. But, Yeah,
that goes back up to that first point of who are you making your map for?
Yeah.
You got to just like, at some point, if you're not taking the feedback, you've got to ask yourself again, like, am I actually making this for matchmaking, or do I really just want to make an experience that I enjoy? Mm-hmm. And at some point, it's okay to just be like, all right, this map's done, and take what you've learned and move on to the next project.
Mm-hmm.
And if you solicit feedback, take the feedback. I mean, you asked for it in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a huge thing. If you want to just like have people play on your map and you go back and watch it and you don't want any feedback, it's like you can't stop everyone. It's a Halo lobby. Someone's going to say something.
Yeah.
But try to say that up front and be completely honest with people. It's like, I don't want to hear anything you guys have to say about this. I'm just interested in watching how it plays. That's fine. But like, if it's a testing lobby and they're all expecting to give feedback for everything, I don't suggest doing that all the time, because that seems to be pretty like, you're not really helping the group. Everyone's there to help each other. And if you're just doing it for yourself, you're not going to jive well with everyone.
If folks wanted to get involved with a testing lobby, what would be the best way for them to get involved?
Currently, I'm running one on ForgeHub every Friday. Lately, I haven't actually gotten enough maps to do something, so I've been just making my own maps and trying to show off my process for making them. So there is a thread on ForgeHub called Max Extras Forge Friday, and if you want something, you just go there. All the information's there.
And then for those that are wanting to get involved with testing, what's kind of the number one, aside from giving good feedback, what's kind of the number one other tip that you would give to someone who's wanting to go in and play test?
Attention to detail is nice. Being able to back up your answers.
Yeah, constructive.
Yeah,
Be
constructively.
constructive. Don't be mean if
Yeah.
something's bad. Just be constructive.
And like an important note is constructive doesn't always mean positive.
Yeah.
It just means you're trying to, in the end, you're trying to help them. Not, so you can be negative. It's like, yeah, this isn't working. Like, or instead of like just saying, yeah, your map's great. This area works great. This area is fine. You can also go like, this area was terrible and you need to like move this because only blue team spawns here, not the red team. So like, there's obviously things you need to point out that are both good and bad about the map. And it's important to do that. You can't just be a yes man for everything. If something's not working, you've got to tell them why, but do it like in a respectful way.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So with Halo 5, we actually got the addition of Halo on PC and Halo 5 Forge. And there's a lot of different advantages to using PC over console in a lot of different ways, but Forge has a unique way on that. So Kantalope, take this one over.
Yeah, so with the use of keyboard and mouse, it's way easier to quickly add scripts to a map and implement them, especially if your PC has multiple screens. So you can use something like Microsoft Visio to organize how the scripts interact with each other, have direct lines connecting. I know that's not part of the Forge itself, but having it on PC creates so much more flexibility with how you organize it. And it's the fact that you can type in directly what exact angles you want an object to be placed at, or exact coordinates. You can quickly just say, oh, it's at 1,000 X units, set it to negative 125. Just type it in with the number pad. It's super quick. And you could, because the mouse is so much more precise, you can slowly move it while you're clicked onto the arrows for moving, and
mouse.
same with rotating. Yeah, with the mouse. And it has the same visuals as a 3D a modeling program with the same arrows and the rotating scales and such. So yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and then this is an example of the one infamous map I've made.
Confusing.
Yes, it's all off by like 10.5 degrees because of the way it's shaped. I would have never been able to make this map unless I was on PC. But this is also a good example of, I quickly made this in like 1 week. But it just looks like a bunch of angles. You can't tell, where's the level ground? There is no level ground at all. Everyone falls in the death pit at least 10 times, not on purpose at all. So it showed me that I need to make sure there's at least landmarks and ways for players to orient themselves. And if you go to the next slide, it'll show. This is a work in progress version, a new one. You can totally see where the level surfaces are. You can, with the top right and the top left, you see that's different angles towards a top position, and that middle platform gives you a indicator of where things are, because it's obviously different. It's got effects on it, and your line of sight just pulls up to it, compared to previously where it's just an orange ball of angles. and then yeah, everything else, there's separate themes to each area. Like the top area is right above a cargo. Yeah, where you bring in cargo or trash or whatever. And then the center is the only part that has awkward angles, so that it's a central polling point. So you can orient yourself based off of that. So having it quickly, how I'm able to quickly go through maps, test them, figure out what's wrong with them, that's something that Halo's 5's Forge, or just in Forge in general, enables. I was able to do this very quickly.
And that kind of goes in what the Darth's going to talk about, how we kind of create our own worlds and our own environments within the Forge tool. That's just one example of taking an idea and really going with it, but there's several other ways that you can take this.
Yeah, with Forge, like how we showed there, you can create a very confusing map and create it with all these different shapes and try to make a name for itself, as to where some of the maps that we've already shown is just like you cannot really do that with the past forges. Like if you look back into Halo 3, you look back, there was no like shapes, there was no like terrain, there was no effects of any sort besides, you know, the screen effects. And if you look into Halo 5, if you would want to go into the examples, like looking here, you get to unleash so many different ideas, from doing the pit from Halo 3 with Legos, or creating a Gundam mech just for fun. Like people create their own aesthetic maps just to show people what they can do and what art pieces they can make out of their Forge objects. I myself create some sorts of campaign maps, so I don't really push them to be competitive or like there's no really big puzzles in them. Like there's no big objective. The objective is just to get to the end of the map and just looking at the map and just seeing all the scenery and looking at what story would be in that map. And so with aesthetics and Forge, it's just like you can create whatever story you want with the tools that you're given. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's like a Japanese group or something like that that's makes some crazy things like
the Gundam.
Yeah,
I don't know
like
if that's
the
one of
Gundam
theirs,
on there,
but-
and that one is that the one that like completely moves and.
No, that's a different one than
That's
this
a different
one.
one. Yeah, there's ones where they have like Master Chief or something shooting an assault rifle, but it's like a giant version of it. And they actually have the shells coming out of the gun, but they're made them out of huge pieces. Like, you know, normal Spartan would be tiny compared to the gun and stuff. It's crazy what they do.
Like sometimes as we're talking about the Japanese forgers, like they would create this giant mech thing out of Forge objects that can move based off of, like if any of you know Dance Dance Revolution, like they have the little arrow things to where your Spartan would move towards that, and the big giant boss that you're facing would move, and it has like these little kill balls that would kill you if it was moving in a certain direction. Like that's just a huge example of like unleashing your
stuff you
creativity.
didn't expect to be made. You know, some people are able to make some crazy things. People have made calculators in Halo 5 that does any type of math, the equation that you want. It's just like how. It's all with all the scripting and everything like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, Darth, what would you say there's a lot of, or where do you get most of your inspiration from, and how, like, what's the most common way people find inspiration for their maps?
I'm mostly like, I give my own original ideas. Like whenever I think of an idea for a novel or like an art piece that I do, because I do animation, so I always try to think of Forge as a way to be able to visualize what I'm thinking, and for it to be the stepping stone is like, hey, that looks what my idea would be like. Like for the 2v2 contest, I'm thinking of introducing one of my novel ideas of like a city and placing that into a 2v2 map and to show off the creativity. And other people, like I know Duquesne, he does it based off of other people.
Yeah, I do a lot of forging based off of other themes like Star Wars or Harry Potter, you know, just Lord of the Rings, things like that. You know, I like making maps off of things that I see. So it's a lot more fun. I like whenever people hop into my maps and then they're like, oh, there's TIE Fighter or X-Wing, you know, just everything like that. So it's a lot more fun for me that way.
Yeah, and just like that, it's just like everyone can push whatever the idea they want, and they can place it into where they're being chased by zombies along a sci-fi corridor, like the one in the middle. Like you could create that into a sci-fi map, make it dark, and there's one person facing 10 zombies. Or you can make it like, for instance, the pancakes in the
Flapjack?
Yeah, like that's just one of the crazy things that you can do in Forge, and it's just like do whatever you want.
And someone also made like a toilet bowl one or something, like a mini game where you try not to get flushed.
Oh, yeah, clogged toilet.
Clogged toilet,
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun.
Yes. And Halo 5 has, actually garnered a lot of creativity, as you can see up here, and it's probably one of the most powerful Forge tools that we've had to date. And why don't you explain a little bit on why that is?
Yeah, pretty much though, like Halo 5, the controls are different, so to speak. Some people don't like it, but most people, I think they get a handle of it. Really enjoyed a lot more. All you had, like, because it adds things like duplicating, group selection, so you can select like an entire base of objects and just move it all together. And so, it makes everything much quicker, much faster to be able to forge. I know recently I went back to Halo Reach. I don't know, something I decided to do is try to remake my very first racetrack in every Halo game. So I'm starting with Reach. I'm moving to Halo 3, and I'm not looking forward to that. But, so in going back to Reach, though, like whenever I was making just a stretch of track, it took me, like, I think 45 minutes just to do that. In Halo 5, I could do that in probably 2 minutes, just with the duplication and magnets and moving stuff around. So just the controls are so much easier, so much faster. And then other things that you have in Halo 5 are things like prefabs, which are huge. That basically has made Forge just so much better. There's a lot of people that just forge prefabs, and that's all they do. They don't forge maps. They just forge cool things. And I know one of my friends, Arpod, he actually made a tombstone for me. Like it says, like, "Here lies Duquesne." They even like put a skull on top with like a hand coming out, and he made, I don't know how he made it, but it's like a little game controller, a little headset and stuff on there. So he makes a lot of prefabs that are fun like that, which they're big for, because you could just borrow from someone's stuff, go check out their prefabs, because you may not be able to make structures too well. Like I'm mainly an aesthetic forger. I make a lot of terrain objects rather than a lot of structures. And so if I just not able to make something that, I really want to make, but you can always go search, online and just be able to find some prefab that someone made and add it into your map, which makes it, a lot easier, a lot more fun. It makes a lot of maps very versatile and, different from each other. So yeah, and pretty much just the tools that Halo 5, gives you, it just makes everything so much easier, so much better. And I can't wait for Infinite. Hopefully it'll be a huge step with a lot of things. But it's just, Halo 5's tools are incredible for Forge.
I know this. We didn't have a slide for this, but since we have a little extra time, what's one thing? We'll just go down. We'll start with you, Darth. What's one thing that you're looking for them to add in Forge for Halo Infinite?
As a person who likes to tell stories as far as like campaign maps and everything, I'm going to kind of combine it because it kind of goes together, but more advanced scripting with AI. Adding AI into Forge to be able to come up with enemies or allies to be able to add into there.
Kantalope?
I didn't think about this beforehand. I'd probably go with more streamlined scripting to where it's a lot easier to create brand new game modes and brand new power-ups. Like on one of the previous slides, it showed a map called Arcanum that had a key as a power-up to where you can open certain doors with it by just walking towards them, and it would reset after 10 opens. So it's like a valuable pickup that you would never see in Halo if it weren't for scripting. Yeah, and I'd like to see more scripting involved. Well, a lot more streamlined, easier to use.
Max?
I wish you told us this beforehand. So mine, I think, would have to be either being able to duplicate by mirroring objects. Say, yes. I fall into making symmetric maps a lot because I make one side, I'm like, I really like this. I think the other team should have it. Then I have to go recreate it. So being able to like just group all that map and then mirror it and just slap it over to the other side would be great. Or being able to like when you make prefabs and weld them all together and you get a final like welded object, being able to mix the geometry and take out the like unseen pieces to like make a more efficient object, I think would be neat.
It's kind of like a new merged object in a way.
Yeah. So the prefabs themselves would be, instead of a combination of a bunch of different things, when you welded it's unreversible, but would be a full object itself.
Yeah.
And out of contractual obligations,
Yeah,
I'll have
I think
to
you can-
skip this question.
You want Forge to be in the game, you know? For me, probably, I don't know, just terrain editing would be great. So we don't have to use up pieces and to be able to just place terrain out. So basically you could just form the land however you want. And you could just smooth everything out as much as you want. That would be fantastic. Placeable water would be wonderful. So that way, a lot of people recreate things like Valhalla and, you know, Beaver Creek and stuff. So it would be nice to actually have water to be able to place out. And just, you know, for everyone else's maps, you can be able to put water on there. And also maybe being able to change it for, you know, different types, maybe lava or acid or something, you know, just different styles of liquid. And then, you know, AI, I know that's what Darth, that would be great to be able to have, because you can make more unique like campaign style maps, or you could just have a multiplayer map that has AI also in it that's fighting everyone, like it's basically a third team. So you have to, it's a group that isn't controllable. So you have to like watch out while you're fighting the other enemies. You got to watch out for the AI, you know, coming up. You can have a swarm of grunts, you know, just come in, you know, like 20 grunts come running in with grenades. That would be fun. So yeah, you know, and just, I guess everything just a little bit more stable, because there's some problems with Halo 5 with stability, with some of the scripting and things like that. So it would be nice if all that, which I'm sure, you know, scripting was fairly new, especially with Halo 5 scripting. That's extremely new. And so, yeah, you know, they have some time and everything. They've been working on Infinite for a while. So, you know, y'all get stuff stable. So.
Since you guys kind of took my prime answer of having AI in there, I'm going to take that one step further from a machinima perspective and say scriptable camera and screen objects. So that kind of helps a lot more with machinima. So like even if you have like an infection map where, say you had a security room that you're hunkered down in, you could have a set camera up there and it transmits to a screen. So like how the teleporters have channels, have a channel that a camera will tie to a screen.
That would be
and
awesome.
add a little more of that kind of immersive element to it.
Well, and not even with machinima, that'd be great just on maps. You know, like if people make like, you know, Oni bases or, you know, just things like that. That'd be great to have like, you have the typical screens there so people can make a backdrop for stuff and like have that projected up on the screen or something.
It'd be funny to make that like if we were able to do that, to do like a Five Nights at Freddy's where it goes to the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, someone would script that. That would, people already have made like a Five Nights at Freddy's style.
Oh yeah.
You know, game with scripting. But yeah, it'd be great to be able to have the screens and stuff on there. But I just thought of one more thing, like more materials would be great. Like material swaps on your objects. So it's not just like stone, wood, concrete, you know, just more different style stuff. And I just thought of another one. Basically, object ability to stretch objects. You know, scaling different objects. Yeah, that's the word. That would be great. So that way you don't have to have 10 different objects of different sizes. You know, 343 could just give us one object, you know, of like some rectangle or something, and we could just scale it however large we want it to be. So that would be really useful. Yeah.
So that's the end of our slides. We have about 10 minutes for questions. If anyone has any Forge questions they want to ask anyone in particular, or just any generic Forge questions. If you have a question, just come up to the table and say your question into the mic.
Whose mic are we using?
And while we have questions, here's a list of different Forging communities you can
how
get
would you
involved with.
plan a racing map?
How would I plan one? It depends on the style of forger you are. Like personally, me, most of the time I just go at a whim. And
Step on over here. Thanks.
you know, for me, I just start making a map, and I just kind of go, unless every once in a while I'll actually think about beforehand exactly what I want. I had to do that with your map, Kantalope, with your dodecahedron map, because that one that was shown earlier, Kantalope's map, that's super confusing, the purple one. Yeah, that one is extremely confusing to just stand in. And so I had to really like plan out how I was going to build a race map inside of it, because it's normally made for Slayer. And isn't it like a 2v2 or something?
It's a 1v1.
It's a 1v1 map, even worse. And I tried to make a race map inside of it. So that was interesting. But if I actually plan something out, I just sit there and think about it. Sometimes I may draw something out, either on a computer or something like that. I draw it out of how I want it to be. But most of the time, whenever I make a map, I either start with the terrain, if it's Halo 5, like where you can build the terrain, and then, build the track around that, or just wing it. But I know there's a lot of people that do actually, completely plan out and draw out their complete map, and then they go in there and forge it. So it's just whatever style you want. By the way, love the Bucky shirt.
Thanks for the question.
So the question I was wondering was kind of an idea of like custom vehicles, like taking the base of like a Warthog or something and making it or like a Mongoose, making it 2 wheels instead, like that kind of thing. I wonder if that's something that they would be doing, or what your thoughts are on that.
That would be amazing. Anything with vehicles would be great to give.
Totally make a light back.
Like we once came up
light bike map.
We once came up with an idea towards like invisible vehicle. Just have like, the max where the vehicle would go if it's a ground vehicle. Like, oh, here's an invisible square. Once you're in Forge, it's like, oh, that's where the ground is going to be. Just build around it and make that.
Yeah, and like I don't know. Yeah, that would be really cool to be able to actually affect the vehicles and stuff like that. I just hope there's more vehicle customization in the future. Because with like Reach, we said earlier, there was at least coloring. I just hope we can customize a lot more.
There's welding in 5.
Yeah, you can weld some stuff.
I guess that's like right
but
now.
You can't spawn with that though. Like with a race map, you can't spawn in the vehicle, the like custom vehicle. So hopefully, maybe with Infinite, we can actually spawn in a custom vehicle. Yes, yeah. That'd be great. There's some people, I forget which YouTube channel it is. There's someone who's crazy with scripting. They made like a Pelican scripted to like fly it extremely smoothly.
Oh yeah, that was.
I know exactly
smooth.
what you're talking about.
I mean, they full turns coming around, doing barrel rolls, going around like completely smooth. I'm like, y'all are insane. I don't know how y'all scripted that to be that smooth. But yeah, I'm over there. I try to script stuff and it's like jerking around. So yeah.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question?
So my question would be like bringing older objects, and I'm not sure if Halo 5 has this, but like bringing older objects from older games into the newer games, like the Halo CE1 Radio Covenant sound or thing. Sorry.
Yeah. I think that would be definitely more possible on PC, like in the future, just because they're modders and stuff. And I know 343 said that like they haven't confirmed anything. Like we're going to support modders, 100%, but they said we're going to try to, like see like later on if we can support it or not. But I know modders definitely like MCC coming to PC. I'm sure they can take a lot of the assets from things and, move them into Forge and stuff. But yeah, that would be awesome. Any more assets for me in future Forges, just more stuff to be able to play with and build with would be fantastic.
There's actually quite a few prefab forgers that try to recreate a lot of that stuff. I don't know any off the top of my head, but for the Mythic and the Classic playlists, I know a lot of people went back and tried to recreate a lot of those original assets, like Covenant ammo crates and all that sort of stuff. So they're out there. It'd just be a matter of searching prefabs and trying to find what you want. I mean, as far as Halo 5, in the future, it'd be great if we had that.
I was gonna say,
Thanks for the question.
Talking about the prefabs, like recreated ones. A common one I see is the Halo 3 teleporter. Like people are remaking that, using that.
Yeah,
that's just what came to mind there.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for coming out. Enjoy the rest of your outpost. Thank you, Houston. If you guys have any other questions or one-on-one, want to talk to any one of these guys, we'll be around here for a little bit. We're going to take a quick picture, but stick around. Thanks.
There you go.
Thank you for coming.